Just a girl, not a threat.
Oh, Ellie. I think they should be terrified of you.
Hey, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be talking about The Last of Us and that kick-ass fucking trailer gameplay from E3 last night. So let's get to it. First of all, I want to say I was shook to the core by this gameplay. In my predictions a few months ago, I had anticipated that they were going to show us a meaty gameplay, and I was right. I also said they weren't going to give us a release date, and I was right. But I was wrong about a few things too. Let's get into all of this nitty-gritty. We start off in a church. We're in a community. We see Ellie in the distance. She looks so similar to Ashley Johnson that I almost didn't recognize her at first as Ellie, because she did look so different from the past trailers we've seen with her and in the first game. So it was such a dramatic change. It kind of threw me off for a second until I saw that cut eyebrow, the telltale mark of Ellie, and then, you know, the close-up, it was clear. We see a few characters here. We see Jesse, who is the guy that walks up to Ellie, and we see Dina. Now, Jesse is the ex of Dina. They're all friends. And Joel is mentioned but not shown in this trailer. And this is a flashback scene. We see that Jesse is talking about Joel, your old man, and he's very nervous about when he goes out on runs because he's going out on a run with Ellie and he's nervous about baby girl. He wants to make sure she is all right. So even though we don't see him, we know he is alive and he is well and he is running this joint. Shocker. We all knew he would be. This setting where they are right now is in the Pacific Northwest in Seattle, which has been confirmed by Reddit and Neil Druckmann himself. So how did they actually get here is my question. Are we going to see the journey from Tommy's? Because at the end of The Last of Us, we left off at Tommy's. This is 5 years into it after we last saw them. So a lot could have happened in 5 years. It could have been overtaken. I don't know if Tommy's still alive. I don't know if we're going to see them. But this is where we wind up on the West Coast of the United States, and we are in a community right now. So we see there is some drama going on with Jesse and Dina. Dina grabs a drink at Ellie's hand and they start to dance and they start flirting and then they kiss. After they kiss, we go from that beautiful romantic scene quickly transitioning to Ellie taking somebody right the fuck out. It is vicious. She is slicing his throat. And I have to give props to the internet who saw this before. I did not see this. I did not notice this. But when we see Dina and Ellie dancing, she's got her arms around her neck. We see a bracelet on her hand. And then when we transition to the murdering, we notice that she's wearing her bracelet on her hand. Now, we know from Riley that Firefly pendant that this does not bode well for Miss Dina. Okay, so this is not looking good for her. And Ellie is wearing it. Hopefully Dina is still alive, but I don't think she is. I think that's why we're revisiting the past and why we're seeing a flashback of her in happier times with her. So this is probably why Ellie is so angry in the reveal trailer when she says, I'm going to find and I'm going to kill every last one of them. They probably took out Dina and she is out for revenge, and that's who she's out avenging. Now, let's go to the environment in the game. Now, this starts the gameplay. Let's talk about the environment quickly. First of all, you see little frogs jumping in front of Ellie as she's walking. The reflection in the water is beautiful. The lighting is gorgeous. And when Ellie's walking through the grass, you can see the environment reacts to her moving through the grass, hiding in the grass. It's just like it was in Uncharted 4, that the environment is dynamic and reacts to your movements. Okay, now we see the enemies. This is the religious cult we saw in the Paris Games trailer reveal, and we're in the same timeline as was shown in Paris Games Week. So this is the same crew, this is the same timeline, so we are in the present day now. Enemies whistle to each other to communicate, and we see our HUD. Okay, so now our HUD looks so smooth and clean. It has been improved upon, which I didn't think it needed to be, but they improved upon it. So now we see the HUD, and there's a circle with our health bar, and in the middle of the circle is like a grayed area, which increases or decreases, gets larger or smaller, depending on if you're spotted by enemies or if you are alerting the enemies, how alerted they are to you. So you have a visual representation of the enemies in their alerted stage. And we also have our listening mode back, which is fantastic because that is, if you're playing on a harder mode, then you need that. That saves your life in these playthroughs. So we have our listening mode, and we even have a visual representation of where the enemies can be and if they can hear us. Okay, so now we're moving up a little further, and we see a parking garage, and to the left of the parking garage there is a big painting on the side of the building, and it says, "May she guide you." Now I'm assuming this is the woman who is in charge of this cult. We saw her in Paris Games Week trailer, so I'm assuming that's her because this looks like their church. This looks like their stomping grounds and their killing grounds. So then we move up a little further. When Ellie's walking on the boards, just a little audio cue when you're watching this, you hear the difference when she goes from the grass to the boards and like a harder surface. So the sound design is so brilliant in this. You can hear the wind, you hear everything so beautifully. The audio design is incredible. Now we see we're having a sacrifice here in the clearing. We have some poor bastard who is strung up from the street lamp like we've seen before, and we hear the familiar phrase,
"They are nested with sin. And what is free? Holy shit! No!
They are nested with sin. So this is the same group, same universe, same people. We're all fighting the same group. When he is swinging from the rope, you can hear the rope swinging and the weight of his body and the creaking of the metal giving way under his weight. So they kill him like they have strung up and killed everyone else in this cult. They hang them and then they disembowel them. It's pretty gruesome. Now, how does Laura Bailey's character fit into this whole universe? I want to know. Is she part of our group? I'm assuming she is, because since we're fighting them, I'm assuming we're all part of the same group. Is she an outsider? So we see Ellie's inventory. Side note, in the inventory, the smoke bomb in this gameplay is on the top, where in The Last of Us, the original, it's the very last item on the bottom that we get, and it's also the last bomb that we get. It's the last explosive that we get in our playthrough. Now, the HUD tells us what weapons we have. So it tells us not only what weapons we have and what items we have in our inventory, it tells us how many slots we have available for weapons. I'm trying to see what the license plate on this car is, what state it's from. It's hard to read. Also, we can loot the bodies of the dead, and it looks like Ellie's picking up an explosive item here, or something to craft to make an explosive item. Okay, here's where we see the visual cues. It's like a white halo effect, which pops up in our peripheral as we see enemies close by, and this will turn from white to red if you are detected. And we also get the audio cue that there's an enemy nearby. So we get both at the same time. Okay, now this part's really important. Now, I almost missed this. When the enemy is chasing after Ellie, when she spots Ellie, she calls out, "Wolf, wolf." Wolf! Wolf! Now, if you remember from the Outbreak Day poster, there is a wolf very prominently placed on right in the center. So now, is Ellie the wolf? Is it the wolf, or is it just wolf in general? This is very interesting because there are many wolf references in the Bible. So that could be any enemy that's the wolf, and it's just alerting the cultists that we know there's an enemy nearby. It just fits in with the whole religious theme of this group. Okay, so Ellie's about to be attacked, but she can counter and dodge like we could in the previous game. When Ellie stabs one of the enemies, you can see the blood spray. It's really well done, not to be gross. Once she hits him, she can also counter the enemy like we did in the original. Okay, so now this is the most dynamic part of the combat that I noticed. When Ellie is stabbing the enemy, once she takes her down, she immediately grabs that weapon right out of her hand, that hammer, and takes her out with it. It's such a smooth transition. She goes from one action to the next. So it seems that Ellie's moves in combat are more advanced and more savage. And this is the first time in the game we can do that. We've never been able to disarm an enemy and take it and use it for one of our own, which is incredible because it goes right into our inventory. We see it on the HUD, and we can see how many hits we have left. Previous melee weapons that we've had before have been the bat, the plank, the pipe, and we can all upgrade it or modify it with the scissors, but we've never had a hammer. So not only do we have a new melee weapon, we can also snatch it from the enemies and take it into our own before they die. Because now we see the blood on the floor, we pick up the enemy's machete, and we can also hide from the enemies in the grass like we did with Uncharted 4. This is another scene where we can see her hiding and using it to stay in stealth. This is so cool. We can actually use cars for cover. Not just on the outside, but underneath. We can hide under the cars. And not only can we hide under the cars, we can also shoot from a laying down position underneath the car. This is huge. What a different dynamic this brings for combat and stealth. I don't think you can use the bow and arrow in this part. I don't think you have the room underneath the car to even try and aim. I don't think it's possible to aim from a laying down position with a bow and arrow. So you really have no choice unless you have a silencer to do this quietly without alerting enemies. And again, the cultist refers to Ellie as Wolf.
Ethan.
What?
Wolf. She came through here.
Not the wolf, just Wolf. Okay, now we can also fight from the ground, which we've never been able to do. The only time we've seen us go down on the ground and getting hit is when we're about to die from the enemies, infected or humans. But we can never fight from the ground, from a laying down position, and that's exactly what happens with this enemy. And Ellie's also able to shoot him from a laying down position on the ground, which is this is like incredible to me. Like, I don't think I even realized it last night when I was watching the video. This was something we've only seen Ellie been able to shoot someone from laying down on the ground on her back was in the university chapter when Joel gets impaled and she's trying to get him out of there to save his life, and the hunters are coming after her and they try and hit her with a pipe, and she's got a gun and she shoots him from laying down on the ground. I wonder if that's where they got this idea from. But I'm so excited by this new mechanic. It's so, you could do so much with it. The enemy is able to pull you out from under the car, so you better be careful. He also calls Ellie a wretch, which is another religious reference. The shooting mechanics look so smooth. The stealth mechanics look so smooth. I just feel like I'm pointing out the obvious, but I want to make sure I mention it. Okay, now we see the RI symbol pop up with an arrow pointing down, like hitting a flat surface. It shows up on the HUD. This is when she's been shot with an arrow. I'm assuming this pops up when we need to heal ourselves. It's giving us an alert we need to do this. You can still use enemies as cover. You can use them as a shield, just like we did in the other game. Now, this part I was so impressed with. Ellie's able to, while she's running away from an enemy, she can run, grab a bottle, and throw it seamlessly while she's running to stun an enemy and to grab them. We have female enemies, human enemies. The only time we've had female enemies in The Last of Us is when they were infected. We should have both male and female. It is the goddamn apocalypse after all. Ellie jumps, she runs into the store, she jumps behind cover, she pulls out the arrow from her shoulder, and you hear it and you feel it. So she's able to pull that arrow out, and that's when we use the R1. And when you're done pulling it out, it disappears when you're finished. And also, there's just I just want to say the impeccable detail of the world around us at this point. We're in the mall, it's tore up, but yet we see beautiful posters and paintings and like pictures and images within the store that Ellie's in that we might not even come across if we take a different route or if we go a different way. So shout out to Naughty Dog being so meticulous with building their world, because it's just so, it makes it feel so alive and rich. Now here we see we pick up items from enemies, we can pick up supplies from enemies, and it's just looks so clean and refined. Not only do you get to pick up arrows off the enemy that they drop when they die, you also can tear it right out of their body, and you feel the weight of it as she's pulling it out of the dead body laying up against the wall, and you feel her, and then you hear it. You hear the noise as it's ripping through the flesh. The whole design of the game just brings you right into the moment. It makes you feel everything that she's feeling and going through. This is my favorite part. We see the crafting icon pop up on the HUD with the wrench, which means you're able to craft some items. Let's talk about the crafting menu, shall we? Because I'm obsessed with it. Obsessed. Now, when I was talking about my predictions for this game, I said they don't have to improve on the crafting. It's perfect the way it is. Don't change it. It's perfect. Well, once again, I was wrong. I should have known they were going to take that crafting mechanic and turn it on its head and make it even more well-designed than anyone thought possible. I should have known they were going to step it the fuck up, and they did. Look at this gorgeous crafting menu. I'm obsessed. It should be in a fucking frame. It's so pretty. It's smooth. It's seamless. It seems very intuitive. It's straightforward. It's polished. It's refined. Bitch, I'm running out of words to describe it. I love it so much. Okay, so when we're crafting these explosive bombs, you can see the bar fill up as we're crafting it, and once we're done, the crafting items disappear from the menu. Now we have the explosive arrow bombs, which is my new favorite weapon in the game. And we see the savage kills of these explosive arrows. Look at the blood spray on that. Look at the explosion that causes. Look at that devastation it causes. Then we see Ellie going after the rest of the enemies. There is 2 enemies left. One big dude and a woman with a bow. This dude has got a fucking sledgehammer and he is going to town. He is going to tear that whole building down on them. You feel the weight of that sledgehammer. You feel the impact of it as if it was really being swung and tearing the place up. She escapes. She's trying to run away from him. She squeezes through the bookcase, which is something we weren't able to do before, squeezing, and it slows us down as we're running away. It gives you the element to disappear, but it also slows you down. Ellie takes out the woman with the bow and arrow. She grabs the arrows that she drops, but the big dude with the sledgehammer hits us and he takes us down hard. And we could see the screen telling our health bar has one red lonely dot there, tiny dot. So we are on the brink of death. We cannot get hit again or we're gonna die. The whole scene goes fuzzy and she is about to die. So we cannot let him take us down. Before putting another arrow into him, she decides to use her machete, but he knows he's done for and he starts to pray.
No, this is a sacrificed lamb. Pray.
And he mentions the sacrificed lamb. Another religious reference. Plenty of lambs to be found in the Bible and religious references. So obviously it goes with the whole theme. The lamb and the wolf and the lamb and the sacrifice, the whole thing. We also notice, like in this close-up shot, we can see, because we haven't been up too close with them in good lighting to see, but they're wearing the uniform. They're all wearing the uniform of the cult. The men have the shaved heads. And the scar, we can clearly see the scar across his cheek in this shot. Ellie takes him out with the machete and it's fucking savage. It's so savage. Ellie transitions back to the past, back to the church when she's with Dina, and Dina tells her, see, I told you they should be terrified. And it looks like Ellie's listening to her. I don't know if I'm right, but it kind of looks like Dina's whispers something to her because Ellie's leaning in and she looks a little like she's questioning something. And then it looks like she might have whispered something to Ellie, and then Ellie has a big smile on her face. Ellie smiles, that beautiful smile. End scene. That's the end of the trailer, and I was dead. If you see my reaction video, once the gameplay starts, I literally had to cover my eyes. I was so overwhelmed by the beauty of that gameplay. I couldn't handle it. It was so overwhelming, and I was like overcome with emotion. It was crazy. I'm so obsessed with this game. I love this game so much. It's my all-time favorite game. I'm a huge Naughty Dog fan, but this is my favorite game of all time. Like, period, end of story. That's just my favorite. Thanks for watching this analysis video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you guys saw some things you didn't see before. And I will be back with any and all Last of Us Part 2 news. You know I'm going to be the one to watch when it comes, any news comes out. So if you can, like this video and subscribe to my channel so you don't miss any of the good news. And if you can, please consider supporting me on Patreon. Every little bit helps. Help a girl out. So thanks so much for watching, and I'll be back.